here with another falconry video. This video is part 3 of 3 videos I've done going over the identification and differences and important things to note between Buteos, Accipiters, and Falcons. This video will be going over Falcons. Now remember, this is not the end-all video to try to explain everything about what a falcon is. In the United States and many other countries, you are required to get a license to practice falconry, and to get that license, part of the process is taking a falconry exam. And taking this test, you will be asked to understand the difference and even identify, in the form of silhouettes typically, the difference between Accipiters, Falcons, and Buteos. These are the 3 families, even if you don't have to get a license, that you should be aware of, as these are the primary families of raptors from which falconry species are utilized. So today we're talking about falcons. Now, because, again, this is just an overview, I understand there's always exceptions to rules. Anytime you say, oh, this family of animals is known for this or that, then there's going to be a species who breaks the rule. So these definitions mostly apply to large falcons. And that is, so for example, there's small species such as the American kestrel or also the Merlin falcon. And of course, if you're talking on a worldwide level, there's falconets, there's hobby falcons, there's all kinds of other smaller falcons that maybe all of these definitions don't apply. Most of them still will. But that's okay. I just need to make sure you understand. I'm fully aware that there's all these exceptions. And remember, the point of this video is to give you a rough idea of what a textbook definition of a falcon is, particularly to help you if you are trying to become a falconer and pass a falconry exam. So falcons are the race cars of the raptor world. They are known for their incredible speed, and that speed is typically done in a dive. Falcons are normally open area birds. They may nest near trees or on the edge of a forest, but most falcon species are open country birds. That's where they thrive best. They have arguably the most distinct and recognizable profile and silhouette. Their wings are long but very narrow, and they're quite pointed. Now, there are other raptors that also have pointy wingtips, but for our purposes, again, if you're taking a test, the bird with the pointy wings is going to be the falcon. They have long tails. There are exceptions to that rule, but not excessively long or seemingly ridiculously long, like an accipiter might seem to a person who's unfamiliar. But they do have long tails. Remember, typically in nature, the longer your tail, the more maneuverability you have. But falcons are all about speed, not only level flight, but also in a dive. And that is what they're most famous for. Most falcons are bird hunters. There's exceptions, and you yourself as a falconer might find exceptional ways to hunt mammals with like hunting rabbits with a sacred falcon, but they're really built to be bird hunters, and not just bird hunters, they want to catch the bird in the air. Other bird hunting raptors don't care where they hit it, but a falcon is about momentum. It's about building speed. So many other species, it's like, I want to drop on my prey, or I want to flash and dash and catch him. Falcons would like nothing more than to already be flying, have built up top speed, and slam into something in the air, or dive and slam into something that's in the air. One or the other. They want their momentum to carry through. They want their entire body, to be a weapon to create impact, where other raptors are mostly just concerned with, do I have you in my talons? Then I've got you. Falcons want their momentum to do part of the work. Because of this, falcons have really large toes. Large meaning their length. The length of their toes are enormous. There's exceptions, but, gyr falcons and sacred falcons seem to have a little bit shorter of toes. Same thing with kestrels for various reasons. But overall, by definition, falcons have ridiculously long toes for catching birds. It's a well-known fact that birds have hollow bones. They have to cut weight wherever they can. Biologically speaking, their birds have let me rephrase that. Flighted birds have as lightweight of bodies as they possibly can get away with. However, if you're using your whole body as a weapon to smack into prey, you have to be able to still be robust enough to handle that impact. Now, I've had the chance to work with and handle the skeleton of a peregrine falcon. And I got to tell you, it was very interesting. All the bones everywhere were exactly like it would be for a hawk or an eagle as far as the density of the bones. But the lower legs and the rear toe and talon on both legs were incredibly dense and nearly solid, able therefore to absorb much more impact in a dive, which we call a stoop. In falconry, that dive to knock a bird out of the sky is called a stoop. And they're built to handle that. They're built to handle that sort of impact. Now, falcons being bird hunters, and most large falcons being trained to wait on and dive, do so with incredible speed. You'll hear all kinds of claims of the speed of the peregrine falcon. Normally in a dive, the peregrine falcon is recognized as being the fastest animal in the world. I've read everywhere from they go 100 miles an hour to they go 300 miles an hour and everything in between. There have been a lot of tests that have been done. Suffice it to say, they're much faster than a cheetah. Cheetahs go 50, 60 miles an hour. You'll hear more, but really the top speed of it, like a trained cheetah that's been pushing limits at 50, 60 miles an hour. Ducks are faster than cheetahs. Pelicans going top speed are faster than cheetahs. Flamingos are faster than cheetahs. Pigeons are way faster than cheetahs. So it is true that most birds can fly faster than a cheetah can run. A cheetah may be the fastest land animal, but birds definitely have them beat. And the peregrine falcon, being a supreme bird hunter, is generally recognized as being the fastest animal in the world. But you don't get that diving speed simply by diving. You have to cut other things as well. You want to be dense. The denser you are, the easier it is to fall quickly and slice through the air. So falcons, for their size, often, if you are new to falconry and you're holding different birds, you may see a falcon and a hawk that have the same dimensions by from head to tail, and you're like, oh, good heavens, this falcon is much heavier. It's because they're denser. They're far denser. Also, to be able to dive quickly, you need as least amount of air resistance as possible. So falcons, as a general rule, have rather stiff, plasticky, brittle feathers. The more deserty you get, the less that seems to be the case. Prairie falcons have softer, fluffier feathers. Same thing with sakers and jeers, and accordingly, they don't dive as fast as a peregrine because they have those fluffier, desert-built feathers. But they're still stiff, they're still plasticky, and they're still breakable. Now, falcons will often hunt larger prey, and in falconry, we will hunt larger prey intentionally. You'll have a falcon and hunt a duck, a pheasant, a sage grouse that may outweigh your falcon. So if you have a big rooster pheasant flying up and your falcon dives, circles up thousands of feet, called waiting on, it stoops or dives, 100 miles an hour or whatever, knocks that pheasant out of the sky, the pheasant lands on the ground, and the falcon dives down and is now on the ground, mantling over, waiting for you to pick it up. But now we have a risk. For both a trained falcon or a wild falcon, there is a risk of the prey that is now dying or has been captured of fighting back, kicking back, and breaking the falcon's feathers. And in the world of survival of the fittest, if you're not the fittest, you might not survive. A bird with a bunch of broken feathers might not survive. So it is in the best interest of the falcon to make sure that none of those feathers get broken. And so rather uniquely among the raptor world, falcons will intentionally, consciously dispatch their prey before they start eating. Nature's cruel. Most predators just start eating from from microorganisms all the way up to lions and everything in between. Most predators just start chomping and chowing down on their prey. They don't care if it's dead. They really don't. But in the case of falcons, once they have their prey on the ground, they will snap the neck. And their beak, their upper mandible, has a special notch called a tomial tooth. It's not a tooth, but that's the term that's used, tomial tooth. That might be on your falconry test as well. Unique, no other raptor has that other than the falcon family. And what that does, that allows them to perfectly have a notch that will perfectly fit in the vertebrae of the prey species within their size range, and then they snap the neck and make sure that their prey is dead. So it's not a moral thing, it's not an ethics thing like, oh, I want to dispatch my prey. It's a survival instinct that we believe is hardwired to make sure that their feathers don't get busted up. The beak itself is much more rounded. If you look at a falcon head on, the beak, it does come to a point, but it's more rounded. Where hawks, Buteos, Accipiters, eagles, that beak is much more like this. It's much narrower going down. But the falcon beak is very bulbous, very rounded, coming to a point, and much stronger. Again, because they're not simply using their beak to eat, but they're also using their beak to snap the neck of their prey. When they're diving as quickly as they do, falcons have a potential problem. How do you breathe? A dive might not be that long, but how do you breathe properly at those speeds? Because if you have a normal nostril, air waves trying to go, as you're trying to breathe in and out, shock waves will go through and cause problems, damage your lungs, prevent you from breathing. And you don't want to be breathing with an open mouth when you dive, because if you're going over 100 miles an hour, try sticking your hand out a moving vehicle, out the window, just on the freeway, and just alter your hand in any way, and you see, whoa, any change in shape alters the dynamics of airflow. And so if you're diving and you open your mouth, that could spin you out. And so falcons have something very unique. The center of their nostril has sort of a protrusion, kind of a cone shape. And we've actually taken that same idea in modern jets. Most air intakes on jet engines, especially the earliest jet engines, often had that same cone shape, where we got the idea from falcon nostrils. And what it does is it forces air in a steady stream without any shock waves. It prevents that so that breathing can still occur. So those are the main things to remember if you are trying to, by textbook, say what is a falcon. Long, skinny, narrow wings that are pointy, relatively long tail, the tomial tooth in the beak, a bulbous beak, nostrils with a cone inside each of them, enormously long toes, a preference for hunting birds in most cases, and typical traditional training in most countries is to train them to wait on, circle up above, and dive down on bird quarry, avian quarry, in very open country. For the record, if you are flying a large falcon without some sort of telemetry or GPS telemetry, eventually you are going to lose your bird. That's why I'm amazed that falconry ever survived to the modern age. We used to use bells. We still do. But even before that, there was a time when there weren't even bells in falconry. And falcons have the ability to get up and go and travel for miles. If your bird chases a duck to the next county, how on earth do you expect to find them? It's a bit tricky, and that is where radio telemetry today plays such an important role in falconry, particularly with falcons themselves. So this is a quick overview. I hope that you find this of value, and I hope if you are getting ready to take a falconry exam, you remember these principles and these sort of textbook definitions of falcons. Let me know down in the comments if there's other videos you would like to see made, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps this channel grow. And as always, happy hawking.